What it do, YouTube? I'm Caleb. Welcome to the Hi-Head Crew. Today I got a little something special for y'all, man. Y'all go ahead and like, comment, subscribe on this video. Today we got our NBA players today actually better than players of the past. Now this is a good discussion to have right here. My personal opinion, I'm gonna say the league as a whole is definitely better than the players of the past. I don't think it's close. You look at today's league, everybody can shoot. Everybody can score. Obviously, you still got role players, but you know what I'm saying? Players can do a little bit of everything in today's game. You got centers. This guy right here, Nikola Jokic, leading the league in assists. Can't ever say about that in the center of a center in the past. You can't. It's the truth. By JxmyHighroller. Let's get into it.
With the NBA season a third of the way
my
through,
goodness.
we can now start to get a good framework of how this season is playing out. And if what we've seen so far is any indication of what's to come, we are in the midst of the biggest talent boom in NBA history. From top to bottom, the league is flooded with players who can go and get 30, 40 any given night. Rotational guys dropping triple doubles, and the superstars of the league all simultaneously shattering records. Take a look at the current MVP race, and it resembles something closer to an all-time ranking than an MVP leaderboard. 29, 12, and 11, 33, 5, and 6, 35, 8, and 8, 29, 6, and 10, 31, 4, and 7, 28, 9, and 6. Not only are all of these guys having MVP caliber seasons, they're all having historically great seasons. In fact, their numbers are so good, it has led some fans to question the very validity of stats in the NBA today. That these numbers aren't a direct result of how good these players are, but a result of stat inflation, a symptom of today's faster pace and offensively favored rules. And how these stats are being interpreted has created a divide among NBA fans. Are the players of today actually better than players of the past? Or are they simply beneficiaries of a league catered for bigger numbers?
What y'all think? I think the players are better. It's simple. Got another ad coming, Jimmy. Not getting paid for that.
A small something. A scoring threshold that once happened infrequent enough that it was worthy of a small prize for everyone involved. Seeing triple digits on the scoreboard was once a treat, warrant of a celebration, and the alternative happened far more often. But today, this is not the case. 100 points is a drop in the bucket. Teams are hitting triple digits in the third quarter. Games ending with scores in the 130s, 140s more often than under 100. And as these point totals have...
I think that's just like, I feel like that has a lot to do with the game being faster today. The game is way faster. Players running all over the court. Quick shots going up. Three-pointers from half court. Quick rebounds. It's just the recipe.
Have ballooned at an unprecedented rate, so has everything else. 30 points is the new 20 points. Tune in on any given night, and there's a great chance you'll see someone drop 40. And it's not just scoring. The entire box score has inflated to levels we've never seen. From points to rebounds and assists, even efficiency. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is putting up prime Jordan numbers. Giannis is putting up prime Shaq numbers. Luka Doncic, well, no one's ever done what Luka's doing. There's a man averaging a 30-point triple-double right now, and it's starting to feel very normal. Either the best players in the NBA today are truly basketball-defining, all-time great, record-breaking talents better than anything that came before them, or there has been an inflation of stats that has completely skewed how we perceive the dominance of players today
Players are more
and the
skilled too,
impact they're having from night to night.
And they get away with a lot.
Both of these options are true at the same time. The trend of bigger stat lines didn't begin overnight. It has been slowly inching up for about a decade now. The stat line of 25, 5, and 5 was at one point such a difficult stat line to average that it was achieved just 7 times throughout the entire decade of the 90s. 5 of those 7 seasons were Michael Jordan. Throughout the 2000s, the pool of players to hit this threshold jumped to 18. By the mid-2010s, pace began to increase around the league. Heliocentric offenses began to take over, and the 25, 5, and 5 stat line was no longer a rarity. As
bro, he probably still doing it to this day, bro.
Individual seasons met this threshold.
Look at
and then
this
the 2020s
man, bro.
began,
That's insane.
where 25, 5, and 5 has become an afterthought.
Where does it end? From 2005 all the way to 2024, bro. That's crazy.
Not even noteworthy. We are in the 7th season of the decade, and there have already been 50 individual seasons where players have averaged the once extremely rare stat line. As many 25 5-5 seasons in the last 3 years alone as there were in the entire 90s and 2000s combined. And you really don't have to go back very far to see this inflation play out. Back in 2011, Kevin Durant won his second straight scoring title, averaging a league-leading 27.7 points per game. One of just 7 players to average at least 25 a game that season. But this season, Durant's 27.7 a game would have him ranked 10th in the league in scoring. We aren't talking about the 80s or 90s or even 2000s. This was just in the last decade. Go back far enough into NBA history and fans will begin to put an era tax on players who played in a weaker league throughout the 60s, 70s, and some fans go as far as the 80s. But now the opposite effect is beginning to happen. Fans are now putting an era tax on today's players for playing in a league with inflated stats.
That's
now,
crazy.
The problem isn't simply the fact that modern players are putting up bigger numbers. It's that these bigger numbers are being used without enough context to make arguments for modern players over players of the past. As the numbers continue to get bigger, what was once seen as impressive or even historic begins to hold less and less value. In 1998, during his last season with the Bulls, Michael Jordan averaged 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists a night on 53% true shooting. It wasn't his most impressive season statistically, but it was more than enough to earn him a scoring title, All-NBA First Team, and a league MVP. Fast forward nearly 30 years, and there's a player with a similar stat line in the NBA today.
Reeves,
28, 6, and 7 a game on 66% true shooting. Numbers that are arguably better than MVP Jordan. But this isn't Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's not Luka or Anthony Edwards. It's Austin Reeves, a second option who is currently putting up.
But Reeves is hooping, bro. Reeves is a hooper. You gotta respect it. But Michael Jordan, he ain't that good.
Better box score than the best player in the world less than 30 years ago. But it doesn't take a basketball savant.
Maybe numbers are inflated just a little bit. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Taking way more threes than Michael ever took. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta factor in everything, bro. The pace, the shot formula, everything. It's just way different.
Austin Reeves is not as productive, impactful, or as good as Michael Jordan was. And yet, without enough context, some people could, and unfortunately some people have, made this argument.
Only Lakers fans. Y'all gotta chill. Like, bro, you gotta factor in everything. Like, when you take so many shots in the game, it's like there's more time on the clock.
In favor of modern players. Stats throughout the NBA today are in fact a bit inflated compared to the past.
Just a little bit.
But what exactly is causing this inflation? And are these numbers a true reflection of the impact players are making? The game today is undoubtedly faster than it was in the past.
Exactly, bro. Me and Jimmy be on the same time until we got the same mind. I need to start making these videos, don't it? No.
Specifically 15, 20 years ago. If we look at the average number of possessions per game over the last 3 decades, the pace of games around the league has increased drastically over the last 20 years, from just 90 possessions a game in 2006 to 100 possessions today. This valley right here, known as the dead ball era, where games would regularly end with teams scoring under 90 points. If we want to talk about taxing an era, it's these players here who really got the short end of the stick when it comes to the box score. They essentially played less basketball than any other era in NBA history. But faster pace doesn't exactly explain the increase in output that we're seeing around the league today. If we level out the pace and look at how many points teams are generating per 100 possessions, then scoring today is still way up from where it was in the past. From 1997 clear up until about 2016, teams around the league scored about 105 points per 100 possessions. Today, that number is up 10% to 116 points per 100 possessions. So even considering the pace of play, teams today are scoring the ball and generating more offense than they ever have. If we look at some of the absurd numbers from top players around the league this season and adjust their numbers to a more modest pace like what we used to see in the 2000s and early 2010s, well, then their numbers come down a bit, But they're still absurd. Shea and Maxey are still averaging 30, Luka is still averaging 32, 8, and 8, and Jokic still has a 30-point triple-double. As nice as it would be to just explain all of this away with pace, the speed at which games are played today is not as big of a factor as it is said to be. So what exactly are the other factors? The league has very slowly, very deliberately nudged teams and players in the direction of more offense for the past few decades. Look back through the history of rule changes, and there's a very clear pattern. In the 80s, the NBA added the three-point line. Throughout the 90s, they cracked down on hand checking and implemented new rules to attempt to speed up the game. In the early 2000s, they added defensive 3 seconds, cut the time to cross half court, got rid of hand checking virtually altogether, and implemented freedom of movement rules that essentially outlawed all the bumping and rerouting that used to happen on every possession. At the same time, the league's interpretation of dribbling rules was heavily loosened. Players could now get away with a lot more with the ball in their hands, and the creativity and depth of skill set began to explode. A lot more with the ball in their hands, and the creativity and depth of skill set began to explode. The NBA has always been a fast-paced run-and-gun league, and anytime it began to slow down, the league manufactured ways to speed it back up, even going as far as changing the very landscape of the court to incentivize players to shoot shots they typically wouldn't. Or in cases that we see today, allowing players to get away with movements and exploits that are very explicitly prohibited. Or at least they're supposed to be. In reality, the NBA has always wanted more offense, and so it should be no surprise that players are producing more offense. Another often cited reason for the explosion of production in the NBA today is the prevalence of heliocentric basketball, the concept of an offensive system built around one player. In the NBA today, superstars around the league get more touches than ever, they get to make more decisions than ever, and as a result, their numbers get an inherent boost due to their highly ball-dominant style of play. Put the ball in the hands of your best player regardless of circumstance or situation. And although this play style is slowly dying out with teams like the Thunder, Celtics, and Spurs bringing back team-oriented ball, the stars of the league are still perceived as beneficiaries of this philosophy. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the definition of a power forward, and yet he regularly brings the ball up the court. He's averaging 6 assists a night, assist numbers that were almost unheard of from a rim-running big man in past eras, and a testament to his elite playmaking ability. But these assists aren't coming off of in-and-out reads or remarkable passing. They are coming directly from him diving downhill, collapsing defenses, and kicking out to open shooters. Compared to players of a similar skill set in the past, Giannis has the benefit of simply having the ball more and having the opportunity to initiate the offense. Nikola Jokic is a center, and yet he has the green light to be the Nuggets' point guard whenever he sees fit. Luka Doncic has so much freedom on offense, the league doesn't even know what position he plays. On any given possession, the play may very well begin and end with him. Ultimately, he gets to decide how and where he's utilized whenever he's on the court. Players today simply have more freedom to indulge in their abilities and capitalize on their skill sets. And this extra freedom has created better opportunities for these stars on offense. If we look at the usage of the top 20 players in the league season by season over the last 30 years, the growth of offensive burden for these stars lines up with the growth in their box score. Usage crept up from the 90s to the 2000s as MJ's departure from the league brought on a new era of hero ball. Usage then plateaued for a bit with the introduction of the super team era, and then immediately jumped again as heliocentric offenses became a common strategy around the league, and it continues to climb to this day. More touches, more shots, more opportunities, bigger numbers. And although this may explain the increase in numbers for the stars, even the players who aren't benefiting from this style of offense, bench guys, role players, their numbers have also climbed to unprecedented levels, which means there's still one factor unaccounted for. And it is the one variable that sets today's players apart from any other era in NBA history: efficiency. Aside from just the pace of play and the change in play style, the biggest reason why scoring and overall output has increased is because efficiency has increased. Across the board, shooting percentage has jumped considerably and consistently over the last 3 decades. From field goal percentage to true shooting percentage to even the most objective measure of shooting accuracy, free throw percentage. Even when given the same number of scoring opportunities, players today are capitalizing on those opportunities far more often. So not only has the pace of the game increased, at the same time, players and teams have become more accurate shooters and scorers. For many years, the gold standard for efficient volume scoring was 60% true shooting. If you could average 20 a game on this kind of efficiency, you were as lethal as it gets in the NBA. In fact, there have been many seasons where not a single player in the league hit this threshold. That, however, is not the case today. As this season, there are 27 volume scorers who have a true shooting percentage of at least 60%. Part of this is because there are simply more players averaging 20 a game, but the underlying theme persists. Over time, players have gotten extremely good at putting the ball in the hoop. Not just in terms of volume, but in accuracy. The real question then becomes, why are players more efficient today than they were in the past? The answer, again, isn't as simple as it seems. Part of the reason why players today are more efficient at scoring the ball is because they are, in fact, more skilled. Players and teams around the league have taken what works from those that came before them, tweaked the formula, and improved on their methods. As outside shooting has become a larger part of emphasis in the NBA today, modern players have spent more time and effort getting good at that part of the game. Teams also understand and exploit certain advantages more now than they have before. One simple but revolutionary shift teams made was their emphasis on three-pointers. Get good enough at them and you can score more points faster than before with greater efficiency by leveraging the statistical advantage of the three-pointer. This shift didn't just change the points on the board, it changed the very geometry of the game and what skill sets are valuable. Not only are players better at shooting the ball now, but smarter, more complex offenses now set players up for better, more open looks. Thanks to tracking data and advanced metrics, organizations around the league can now pinpoint exactly where the best shots are and how to get those shots more often. If someone had convinced KG to just take one step back on all of his long twos, his numbers would probably have looked a lot better and his efficiency would have naturally increased. As teams got smarter, shot selection got better. Threes and layups have taken over the shot diet of players around the league, and scoring numbers not only went up, but they got significantly more efficient. Pair this better understanding of where the advantages lie with about 10 extra possessions a game, and you've got a recipe for larger scoring numbers both for teams and individual players. As Bill Simmons once said, the math of the game changed to favor the box score. Some would call this evolution. Others may call it optimization. Take what works, double down on it, get rid of what doesn't work. 20 years ago, the Phoenix Suns were reinventing offense under Mike D'Antoni and breaking records with their volume and pace. First in the league in points per game, three-point attempt rate, three-point percentage, true shooting percentage, and just about every other offensive metric. They were far and away the best offensive team in the league. And yet, compared to today's standards, the 06 Phoenix Suns were sluggish, inefficient. Look at a shot map from that 06 Suns team, and you can see exactly how teams approached offense in an era that featured the lowest point totals in NBA history. Despite their best spots on the court being near the rim and from beyond three, the Suns attempted the majority of their shots in here, somewhere in between. From beyond the three-point line, they scored 1.2 points per shot, the best three-point shooting team in the NBA. From within 6 feet, they scored 1.25 points per shot, and everywhere else, they scored just 0.85 points per shot. Now, why did the Suns shoot so many shots from areas on the court where they were least efficient? Well, at the time, they weren't. That season, the Phoenix Suns shot more threes than any team in NBA history. They thought they were shooting a lot of high percentage shots. Fast forward 20 years, and we now know you can take this concept a whole lot further. Compare the 06 Suns to the best offense in the league today, the Denver Nuggets, and you'll see not just how the game has changed, but the effects of those changes. In 2006, the Suns scored 106.4 points per game. This season, the Nuggets score 125 points per game. But I want you to take notice of a few different metrics here, like pace. The Suns had a pace of 95.8 possessions per game, which isn't too far off from this year's Nuggets with 98.9 possessions per game. Even when you adjust these teams to the same exact pace, the Nuggets are scoring 125.9 points per 100 possessions to the Suns' 111.5, despite having the same exact efficiency, both near the rim and from outside. So where are all of these extra points coming from? Well, from near the rim and outside. After further investigation, the league realized that these shots here in between are just not worth the hassle. they literally aren't worth as much as other shots. In 2006, the Suns, a revolutionary offense, shot 40% of their shots from this in-between area. This year, the Nuggets only shoot 19% of their shots from this area.
That's crazy.
The NBA has game theoried its way to the most productive, most efficient version of basketball. Steve Nash was one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, shot nearly 45% from three for nearly a decade, and yet he only attempted 3 to 4 three-pointers a game. Why? Well, because they just didn't know any better.
We played a style that was thought to be revolutionary at the time, but really we should have doubled down. And Mike said this before, we should have played faster, we should have played smaller, we should have shot way more threes. We were just playing a style that suited our roster, suited our personnel. It was foreshadowing for the future. I think I was too conservative shooting the ball. Like, I should have walked into way more threes, I should have looked for more threes, but I didn't come out like guns blazing, try to, get 20 in the first half, because I didn't think that would do my team any favors. Now we know numerically it just makes way too much sense and not enough sense. And the game wasn't ready for that yet.
Right.
We didn't value the analytics. We probably weren't even, analyzing things to the extent we are now, or even, 2 or 3 years after 2007.
More than skill, more than personnel, more than pace, how teams are approaching offense and the extent to which they understand the value of each shot and how to get those shots is by far the largest contributor to the inflation of numbers we see today. Not only have players leveraged the knowledge and skills of those that came before them to become better players, teams around the league have leveraged the data and systems of teams that came before them to create offenses tailor-made for these new, improved players. The evolution of the NBA isn't necessarily in the talent itself, it's how the talent is utilized. Nikola Jokic is a generational player, and he also plays in a system that allows him to maximize all of his abilities. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter ever, but he also plays in an era that allowed him to reach his potential. Luka Doncic is one of the most versatile offensive engines the game has ever seen, and he also plays in a league that allows him to be a point guard, or a shooting guard, or a small forward on any given possession. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is putting up prime Michael Jordan numbers. He really is that good. But he also plays in the smartest, most efficient, cerebral era in the NBA's history, primed for the next Michael Jordan. Are the numbers we see in the NBA today a symptom of stat inflation, or have the players simply gotten better? Well, it's both. The math has changed the game, but the players have changed too.
Facts. Hey, great video by JxmyHighroller. As usual, y'all know what to do, man. If y'all enjoyed this reaction video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next. Word of 2K.